Derek Jeter stood frozen at shortstop, hands on his hips, jaw clenched as the Toronto Blue Jays stormed the field at Rogers Center. The captain, who'd built a career on October heroics, watched helplessly as the Blue Jays dogpiled near second base, punching their ticket to the World Series while the Yankees season died in front of 49,282 screaming Canadian fans. This wasn't just a playoff loss, it was a seismic shift in American League power. For the first time in his Hall of Fame career, Jeter looked utterly defeated, not by a single pitch, but by the realization that his window might have just slammed shut forever. The clinching game drew 6.8 million US viewers, a 34% increase over the previous year's ALCS finale. In Canada, Sportsnet shattered records with 4.2 million viewers, nearly 12% of the entire Canadian population, numbers not seen since Joe Carter's 1993 walk-off homer. American audiences watched out of Yankees fatigue, while Canadian viewers experienced a generational cultural moment. The final score, Blue Jays 6, Yankees 2, doesn't capture Toronto's suffocating dominance. Roy Halladay, working on 3 days' rest, threw 7 innings of 2-run ball, striking out 9 and walking none. After Carlos Delgado's 2-run double in the 5th gave Toronto a 4-1 cushion, the outcome felt inevitable. Jeter went 1 for 4 with a solo homer, his only offensive contribution in a series where he hit just .219 with runners in scoring position. The late innings made the moment jarring. With 2 outs in the 8th and the Yankees down 6-2, Jeter grounded out on a 1-2 curveball. The camera caught him immediately after contact. Head down, bat discarded carelessly, his stride back to the bench heavy and deliberate. By the 9th, when Troy Glaus squeezed the final pop-up from Bernie Williams, Jeter stood motionless at shortstop with a 1,000-yard stare. Fox replayed the shot 4 times during post-game coverage, creating the series' defining image. The series exposed every flaw in the Yankees' aging core. After splitting the first 2 games at Yankee Stadium, Toronto seized control with back-to-back wins at Rogers Center. The Yankees clawed back with a Game 5 victory, but their bullpen finally cracked. Mariano Rivera, overworked from 3 consecutive appearances, allowed 2 inherited runners to score in the 7th, turning a 3-2 deficit into a 5-2 chasm. The offensive numbers were grim. The Yankees hit .227 with runners in scoring position, leaving 47 men on base. Jeter, Jason Giambi, and Bernie Williams combined to go 11 for 68.162 with runners on. Toronto's pitching held New York to just 18 runs across 6 games, well below their regular season mark of 5.1 runs per game. The legacy implications for Jeter couldn't have been more consequential. At 29, he was entering his prime, but the Yankees roster suggested this might have been their best remaining chance at championship number 5. The franchise hadn't won a World Series since 2000, and while 3 years might not sound like a drought, in Yankees terms, with a $180 million payroll, it represented a troubling trend. Jeter's postseason batting average had dipped to .291 over the previous 2 Octobers after hovering near .340 in his championship years. He struck out 11 times in 28 at-bats this series, completely out of character for a contact hitter. For Toronto, this wasn't just a pennant, it was a cultural earthquake. The Blue Jays hadn't reached the World Series since 1993, a 10-year absence spent watching the Yankees dominate. Sportsnet reported a 287% spike in unique visitors during the ALCS, with over 800,000 Canadians streaming the clinching game online, a record for digital sports consumption in Canada. The Toronto Star's front-page dogpile photo with the headline "We're Back" was shared over 425,000 times within hours. The merchandise impact was immediate. Fanatics reported Blue Jays ALCS championship gear sales in the first 72 hours exceeded the entire previous month's Toronto sales by 640%. Rogers Center sold out of commemorative hats within 90 minutes. Carlos Delgado's jersey became the 3rd best-selling MLB jersey in 48 hours, trailing only Barry Bonds and Ichiro Suzuki, remarkable for a player on a Canadian team. Yankees postseason merchandise sales declined 23% compared to the previous year. Sports betting handle reflected this shift dramatically. Blue Jays World Series futures bets increased by 1,840% in 24 hours after they eliminated New York, with Canadian bettors driving the surge. The line moved from +350 to +180 overnight, one of the most dramatic shifts in modern betting. The 2003 Blue Jays differed from their 1990s dynasty. The 92 to 93 teams bought veterans like Winfield and Molitor. This roster featured homegrown talent. Halladay, drafted 1995. Wells, farm system. Delgado, signed 1988. They proved player development could compete with financial might. During 1992-93, Toronto averaged 50,324 fans per game. The 2003 regular season, just 20,167, a 60% decline. But playoff tickets for the clincher averaged $287, up from $62 for regular season Yankees games. Jeter's decline was measurable. From 1996 to 2001, he hit .338 in 76 playoff games with a .803 OPS. Over his last 10 playoff games, 2002 to 2003, he hit .247 with a .643 OPS. Toronto threw him fastballs up and away 61% of the time. He chased 43%, double his 23% regular season rate. The Yankees' $180 million payroll dwarfed Toronto's $83 million. New York's per-win cost, $1.77 million. Toronto's, $799,000, less than half. Rogers Communications, which purchased the Blue Jays in 2000 for $112 million, suddenly found itself sitting on a dramatically appreciated asset. The company's integrated model, owning the team, stadium, and broadcast network, meant they could capitalize uniquely. Analysts estimated the ALCS run alone would generate $55 to $70 million in incremental revenue, with the World Series potentially adding another $40 to $50 million. StubHub reported Blue Jays World Series tickets listing at an average of $542 for upper deck seats and $1,847 for lower bowl, prices unthinkable during a regular season when many games failed to draw 20,000 fans. Data showed 37% of buyers were purchasing from outside Canada. Molson Canadian reported sales in Ontario increased 23% during the ALCS. Tim Hortons launched a Road to the Series promotion that generated an estimated $8.3 million in additional foot traffic revenue. The Toronto Board of Trade estimated each home playoff game generated approximately $4.7 million in economic activity. Downtown hotels reported 97% occupancy during the ALCS home stand versus typical October occupancy of 73%, with room rates jumping from $168 to $287. Jersey sales revealed fascinating insights. Carlos Delgado's jersey accounted for 38% of all Toronto sales post-ALCS, but Roy Halladay's jersey sales increased by 890%, the largest spike of any player on either roster. Starting pitchers historically don't sell jerseys at rates comparable to position players, but Halladay's Game 6 dominance created a transcendent moment. The Yankees faced a crisis. Clemens retired. Petit courted Houston. Wells was 40. They needed $45 to $60 million in free agents. For Jeter, doubt entered conversations. His power declined from 24 homers, 2000, to 10, 2003. Scouts noted bat speed decreasing. Toronto's window was precarious. Delgado would be a free agent after 2004, requiring $100 to $120 million to retain. Halladay had 2 years left before demanding $15+ million annually. The mid-market dilemma: spend aggressively or maintain discipline and risk wasting prime years. The broader AL landscape shifted. Boston saw that resources plus smart construction could beat the Yankees. Oakland validated Moneyball principles. Jeter had 4 championships before 27 but now faced never winning another. The image of Derek Jeter standing motionless at shortstop while the Blue Jays celebrated crystallized a moment that transcended a single playoff series. It was the visible manifestation of a power shift in baseball. For a decade, the Yankees had been October's inevitable conclusion. That certainty had evaporated in 6 games against a franchise that had been largely irrelevant for a decade. Jeter's expression, jaw tight, eyes fixed on nothing, shoulders slightly slumped, told the story more eloquently than any post-game interview could. This wasn't just disappointment. It was the dawning realization that windows close, that excellence has an expiration date. The Blue Jays celebration was pure, unbridled joy. Carlos Delgado hoisting the ALCS trophy with tears streaming down his face, Roy Halladay being mobbed by teammates, Vernon Wells spraying champagne. These images would define Canadian baseball for a generation. The 49,282 fans at Rogers Centre were reclaiming ownership of a sport that had felt increasingly American-centric. What made this story compelling was its fundamental unpredictability. The Yankees had won 101 games, had the game's highest payroll, and featured multiple future Hall of Famers. The Blue Jays had won 86 games and scraped into the playoffs as a wild card. That they thoroughly outplayed New York raised questions about baseball's prevailing wisdom regarding roster construction. The human element elevated this from sports transaction to genuine drama. Jeter had built his entire identity around being a winner, around delivering in October. For 8 years, that identity had been validated by championship rings and walk-off hits. This loss didn't erase that history, but it complicated the narrative, introducing doubt where previously there had been only certainty. The questions this series left behind give it lasting resonance. Was this the end of the Yankees dynasty? Could Jeter recapture the October magic that had defined his early career? Would the Blue Jays capitalize on this World Series opportunity? Could mid-market teams truly compete with baseball's financial elite on a consistent basis? The image that will endure is Jeter at shortstop, frozen in that moment of realization, while Blue Jays players celebrated 90 feet away. It's a portrait of excellence confronting its own mortality, of dominance giving way to new challengers. Somewhere in Toronto, fans were pouring into the streets. Somewhere in New York, fans were clicking off their televisions in disgusted silence. And somewhere in between, Derek Jeter was processing the most painful loss of his career, uncertain whether this represented an ending or simply another challenge to overcome. That uncertainty is what transforms sports from entertainment into something approaching art.